All right, let's just dive right into this Masterclass explainer. I am going to be your IT teacher today, guiding you step by step through the ultimate digital foundation. Now, whether you're setting up your very first workstation or you just want to truly understand the magic that's happening behind your screen, this study guide is absolutely designed for you. We're going to decode the whole digital world together, going from the absolute basics of hardware right down to organizing your files like a total pro.
To kick things off, I want you to take a second and just ask yourself, how many screens did you actually look at today? Seriously, think about it. Maybe you started by tapping your phone alarm, then glanced at your smart TV during breakfast, maybe checked your smartwatch on the bus, and then looked at the dashboard screen in your car. Well, here's a pretty fascinating statistic for you. 88% of young people use the internet every single day, but only about 30% actually know how to handle basic digital security or troubleshooting. We are literally surrounded by powerful computers every single day. I mean, your smartwatch or your smartphone isn't just a phone anymore, right? It's a pocket-sized supercomputer. And today, we're going to put you right into that top 30% of power users who actually know exactly how these machines work. So, here's our syllabus for today. 1. The evolution of computers. 2. Anatomy of a computer. 3. Hardware versus software. 4. Your digital backpack. 5. Connecting your world. And finally, 6. Caring for your equipment.
Okay, let's jump straight into Section 1, the evolution of computers, from ancient calculators to pocket powerhouses.
You know, it's so easy to think of computers as this totally modern invention, but this journey actually started thousands of years ago. Around 3000 BC in Mesopotamia and China, we had the abacus. That was essentially the very first mechanical computer, using sliding beads to process calculations. Fast forward all the way to 1837, and a guy named Charles Babbage designs the analytical engine, which was the first mechanical programmable computer. Then we take a massive leap in 1945 with the ENIAC, the first truly electronic computer. By 1981, the IBM PC finally brought these machines into our homes and offices. And then, bam, in 2007, the smartphone arrived. That basically turned the computer into a pocket-sized portal to the entire internet, complete with a camera and apps.
And to really give you an idea of the sheer physical scale of that early tech, 27 tons. That is exactly how much the 1945 ENIAC weighed. I mean, it was so incredibly massive, it literally took up an entire building. Today, your smartphone has millions of times more processing power than that giant 27-ton behemoth, and the whole thing fits right in the palm of your hand.
Which brings us to Section 2, Anatomy of a Computer. Let's dissect the machine. So, if a computer were a human body, how would we actually label its parts? Well, think of it this way. The cabinet that contains the CPU, the central processing unit, is the brain and the core body of the whole operation. It houses the memory and the hard drive. But, a brain trapped in a box isn't very useful by itself. And that is exactly where our peripherals come in. The keyboard and the mouse act as the hands, letting you input information and control the system. The monitor acts as the face, providing the visual output so you can actually see what the brain is doing in there. And of course, the speakers, webcam, and microphone are your computer's ears and voice. Every single piece has a highly specific job to do. And the sheer scale of what that brain is actually pulling off, it's completely mind-blowing. A modern CPU performs over 3 billion operations a second. To put that into perspective, if you, as a human, tried to manually process that exact same amount of math, it would take you 95 years just to match what your computer does in a single second. Crazy, right? Okay, moving on to Section 3, Hardware versus Software, the body and the thoughts. Now, if you want to master tech, you absolutely have to understand the dynamic between these two concepts. The crucial point here is that a computer needs both the physical body of hardware and the intangible thoughts of software to function together. Hardware is literally anything you can physically touch: the keyboard, the monitor, the RAM, the solid-state drive inside the case. The word itself literally comes from physical tools. Software, on the other hand, a term that was actually coined by mathematician John Tukey back in 1958, refers to the invisible instructions and programs that tell the hardware what to do. Windows 11, Spotify, Google Chrome, your favorite video game, all of that is software. Without software, your super expensive hardware, it's basically just a very overpriced paperweight. And without hardware, your software has absolutely nowhere to live. They are completely and entirely dependent on each other. Welcome to Section 4, Your Digital Backpack. Let's talk about organizing files in Windows.
Now, having a powerful brain and body isn't very helpful if your thoughts are just a total mess, right? So this is where we make sure you never ever lose an assignment again. I want you to imagine your computer is exactly like your school backpack. If you just throw all your loose papers, pens, and books into the main pocket, finding your math homework later is going to be an absolute nightmare. In the digital world, an archive or file is just a piece of saved information. So to keep them organized, we use digital folders. These folders act exactly like physical dividers in your backpack, letting you group your files together cleanly. And you can even put folders inside of other folders, creating this perfect digital filing cabinet that makes finding what you need instant and completely stress-free.
And to really give you a sense of modern storage space, a 20-terabyte hard drive holds the equivalent of a 2,000-kilometer high stack of paper. That is roughly the distance from Mexico City all the way to Chicago. With that much potential storage, proper folder organization isn't just a good idea, it is absolutely essential. So how does the computer actually know what kind of paper you're putting into that backpack? Well, it uses file extensions. These are those little letters at the very end of a file's name, right after the dot. A .docx or a .pdf tells the computer to open a text document like a school essay. A .jpg or .png is a digital photo. A .mp4 is a video, and a .zip is a compressed bundle of files. Recognizing these extensions is basically like having a cheat sheet. You instantly know exactly what you're looking at before you even double-click it. All right, let's jump into Section 5, Connecting Your World. Understanding ports and cables. So, all those peripherals we talked about earlier, they need a way to physically talk to the CPU. The classic USB-A is that familiar rectangular slot you use for things like flash drives and mice. Fun fact for you, USB was actually created in 1994 by a group of companies, including Intel and Microsoft, just to standardize what used to be a totally chaotic mess of different cables. Today, though, we're mostly transitioning to USB-C. It's a smaller, oval shape that transfers data incredibly fast. It can carry power to charge your laptop, and best of all, it's reversible, so no more flipping it upside down 3 times to plug it in. Then we have HDMI, which is your go-to for sending high-definition video and audio to monitors and TVs. And finally, Ethernet, which looks kind of like a thick phone cable, and that's used to hardwire your computer straight into the internet router.
Which naturally brings us to a super common question. Should you use cables or just go wireless? Well, wired connections, like Ethernet for internet, give you maximum speed and absolute stability. That's exactly what you want for competitive gaming or transferring massive video files. On the flip side, wireless connections, like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, offer total mobility. You're sacrificing just a tiny bit of stability for the ultimate convenience of moving your laptop or your headphones around the room freely.
And finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, Caring for Your Equipment. Best practices for longevity.
Listen, as your IT teacher, I've got to tell you that buying a computer is a major investment, and treating it poorly is a really quick way to lose a lot of money and data. The absolutely crucial point here is never to just yank the power cord out of the wall or force that power button down when you're done. When you do that, you're risking corrupting your operating system and losing your files completely. So always save your open files first, close your programs one by one, click the Start menu, and deliberately select Shutdown. Then just be patient. Wait for the screen to go completely black before you close the laptop lid or unplug the machine. The software really needs those last few seconds to safely tuck all your data away. Now for some non-negotiable classroom rules regarding physical care. Keep this in mind. Liquids and heat are a computer's absolute worst enemies. Clean your screens only with a dry microfiber cloth, please. Never spray water or glass cleaner directly onto the monitor. Keep your drinks and your snacks far, far away from the keyboard. One spilled soda and boom, your motherboard is history. Make sure you aren't working with your laptop sitting on a soft blanket that blocks its air vents either. The heat will just build right up and fry the processor. Always plug your expensive desktop into a surge protector to guard against random electrical spikes, and whenever you travel, put that laptop in a padded sleeve. Just treat the hardware with respect, and I promise, the software will keep running smoothly.
All right, to close out our masterclass today, I want to leave you with this really provocative thought straight from our study guide. Imagine tomorrow morning you wake up and every single computer has simply vanished. Not just your desktop, but your smartphone, the chips inside the traffic lights outside, the servers running the global banks, the smart TVs, everything. What would actually happen to your day? How would you communicate or travel or learn? We rely on these incredible tools for almost everything we do now. Understanding how they evolved, how their hardware and software interlock, and how to properly organize and care for them isn't just a technical skill anymore. It's an essential life skill.
Thank you so much for joining me in this deep dive, and I will see you in the next explainer.